Latest. Trey, good morning.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. The ceasefire between the United States and Iran is set to expire in just 72 hours. And already the Iranians are testing the agreement. Over the weekend, two vessels that were trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz reported gunfire toward their ships. Other vessels were able to pass, but the Iranians say the strait is closed once again and in their control.
If traffic is still taking place in the strait today and is proceeding, we control the strait. Now, for 2 or 3 days, the U.S. has deliberately laid siege. What does siege mean? It means that everyone comes and goes, but Iran doesn't go. What a foolish and ignorant decision.
The U.S. blockade of Iranian ports remains in effect. CENTCOM said that 23 vessels complied with their warnings to turn around on Saturday. Additional vessels were forced to turn around today. President Trump spoke from the Oval Office over the weekend about the situation in the strait.
They got a little cute, as they have been doing for 47 years. Nobody ever took them on. We took them on. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no leaders. They have no nothing. Actually, their leaders are, it is regime change.
The Iranians continue to threaten U.S. forces in the region, but while the Iranians are talking, the Americans are preparing, sending dozens of additional transport planes to the region over the weekend.
The upper hand is with our forces. We hold the advantage. We have not struck many of the targets. In other words, we have left some more important matters for later stages. And if matters return to war again, we hold the upper hand. We can stop oil production. We can shut down 15 million barrels of oil a day and keep it suspended for an entire year. We did not want to create major disruption in the world, so we showed patience and acted with restraint.
The reality is the United States has the upper hand, the most powerful military in the world that is preparing if negotiations fail. Guys?
So, Trey, clear this up, because there seems to be some confusion about whether the strait is open or not.
I spoke with regional sources over the weekend who said the strait is effectively closed because the Iranians are now firing on vessels that are trying to pass through. We know that some vessels were able to make it through the strait, but the Iranians came out after President Trump said the strait was open, saying that it's closed and it's in their control. What's interesting, though, is that the Iranian foreign minister even said exactly what President Trump was saying only hours later, to be rebuffed by his own state media through officials there in the IRGC, saying that the foreign minister's statement was incorrect. So the Iranians don't even know the answer to that question. And it gives you a sense of how effective the U.S. and Israeli campaign against the Iranian regime was over the past 45 days, because it sent an inability for the Iranians to communicate within their ranks. And also there are clear disagreements between not only the foreign minister, but also the speaker of Iran's parliament and top IRGC officials about what to do with the Strait of Hormuz. Guys?
Trey, so the Iranian regime is saying, well, we've got the upper hand and we can just shut off oil for, up to a year if we want, and that'll hurt you, but it actually hurts China, right, the most?
Yeah, it hurts China and other countries. The United States relies very little on the oil that is passing through the Strait of Hormuz, just a few percentage points when you look at the spreadsheet for American usage of this oil. Some European countries, the number is 20 or 30%. But as it relates to the Iranians, what they are describing here is actually a situation that is hurting their economy, not the U.S. economy, because the Iranians use Kharg Island for 90% of their crude oil processing. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical waterway to export their oil. So the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports was described to me today as strategic excellence by President Trump, understanding that this is choking off the main ability for the Iranian economy to function. And so while the Iranians make many of these statements publicly, privately they are very worried about what is taking place. And again, they don't hold the cards at the negotiating table or on the battlefield. And it gives President Trump a variety of options if the Iranians are unwilling to move the needle. Remember, just over the weekend, it looked like there was some progress being made toward a second round of direct talks between the United States and Iran. Now the Iranians are saying they're going to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. They are saying they're not willing to give up their highly enriched uranium. And they say they are prepared to return to war with the United States. They're trying to call President Trump's bluff. And as we have seen in the past, the president is not bluffing. He is very serious about the situation with Iran. And there are two options for the Iranians. Either they make a good faith deal and give up their enriched uranium, or it will be taken from them.
Trey, it's Lucas. Pakistani media is reporting today it looks like there's been some C-17 flights into Islamabad. It looks like talks could be resuming this week. You talk about the chaos inside Iran with the leadership, the IRGC versus the politicians. What do you think the next steps are with these talks? Could they be resuming this week?
It's a great question. There was a delegation from Pakistan that arrived in Tehran late last week and tried to move the ball forward. And the Iranians even acknowledged this. They said they received new proposals from the Americans, but they'd not yet responded. We're at the last minute here, down to the wire, less than 72 hours away before this ceasefire ends. And the president has indicated he's not really interested in extending the ceasefire agreement. If the Iranians are willing to make a good faith deal, they're going to make it right now. And so the question is whether or not there are going to be a second round of direct talks this week in Islamabad, Pakistan. Preparations appear underway for that possibility. But again, the president yesterday holding that situational assessment at the White House with top generals, military commanders, and cabinet officials. And so the president understands the battlefield here. And we are looking at a situation where there's either going to be an agreement or the war in some capacity is going to resume. And so in the coming days, we expect to get more information about the possibility of talks. President Trump has indicated he prefers a diplomatic option, but remains prepared should this campaign resume.
The clock is
Trey.
ticking indeed. Trey, thank you very much.
Thanks, Trey. Let's hope that things de-escalate and that negotiations resume. We'll make one note. This blockade on Iranian oil is really significant because their ability to store the oil that they're pumping is almost at a max right now. And so people think, well, okay, so you just shut off your pump. It's not like a faucet. Right. If you're not constantly pumping, actually those wells can be damaged. So there could be long-term permanent damage or very expensive damage to these wells. And so they are thinking about that as well. They need that blockade so we can do the blockade of their oil. And they're thinking about that as they're moving
Iran
forward.
doesn't want to make a deal unless the blockade gets removed.
Of course, because it's a part of it.
And the ultimate takeaway is that it further brings Iran's economy to its knees. Meanwhile, we are, from the economic standpoint, also increasing sanctions on anyone that receives that oil. So when you talk about the economic damage to Iran, it is definitely a long felt pain.
But just to tell you about this,
I was just going to say it's hurting our economy. It's not detrimental, but it's hurting people. Let's make no mistake. And it has very serious political consequences for the midterm.
it does appear the talks will happen this week because already some notices have gone out to the hotels in Islamabad to clear out. Another delegation is coming in. That's just what happened last time with